big part of the good vibes here is what Kelvin Sampson said when he got a microphone put in his face after the game, which shout out to my man for that. I did not expect. He was one of the last people I would expect to have a bleep the haters kind of moment at the end of the game, but he did, and he didn't do it really on behalf of Houston. It was more on behalf of the Big 12. So I'll get to that in just a moment. And I think his quote really perfectly encapsulated like what Yormark is going for with this conference, like what has changed with this conference since Brett Yormark took over. We were just talking about the celebration, right? In that aftermath, I guess maybe it shouldn't surprise me that a quote like this came out, that out of that wild celebration was birthed this. I saw some comments. I think it was Matt Norlander, who's one of the better national college basketball analysts, had said he hadn't really seen a scene like that after a non-championship game, that it like kind of resembled that, which you can understand. I mean, later on, I'm going to talk about that, and that's why it's so hard to turn around and then play a game on Monday, because that did in many ways feel like a championship game. You slayed Goliath. That was the Goliath of the tournament that nobody thought could be beaten, and you just did it in thrilling comeback fashion. So, yeah, it's a wild celebration. The emotions are going to be flowing. That's when you'll get something like that into a microphone. But when you have the big guns out there, Jim Nance is crying. Like, that's a guy, has to maintain his professionalism all the time with this. He broadcast Houston in a Final Four already, kept the emotions in check fine. But he's there in the stands losing it. I mentioned the emotional moment, Juwan Roberts and his mom who came running over to him. So there's just a lot going on there. But the best part of the night, undoubtedly, as much as I love that, as much as Nance crying is cool, as much as seeing the dream there, the best part is Kelvin Sampson, what he said to Tracy Wolfson, who was doing the interview after the game. So Tracy Wolfson doing like the sideline style interview, on-court interview after the game with everybody. I mean, look, Kelvin Sampson's he is not a guy for pleasantries. He's not a guy for fluff. He's going to pretty much just tell you what's on his mind, give it to you straight, and it's going to be pretty substantive and not a lot else going on there. He stepped up, and I thought just perfectly captured what the sentiment should be from somebody in his shoes after that game, both on behalf of his league and on behalf of his team. Now, whether or not that actually gets said usually is a different conversation. I think a lot of times a coach might just choke that back and not actually deliver it there, but Sampson did, and I really, really like that. Let's set the tone here by showing you some of what was being tweeted at one point in the game, right? So it gets to where it's a 14-point game, and the ESPN win probability says it's 98%. Okay, 98% chance that Duke is going to win the game. That's what's going on out there. All right. And then you get stuff like this. Brandon Marcello, right? Brandon Marcello. Florida, Duke, Walter Clayton Jr., Cooper Flagg. Going to be a good one. Already hyping up the star matchup with Cooper Flagg in the national championship game. Every team in the Final Four was championship worthy this year, which I know that's meant to be a compliment. But that was kind of the vibe with Houston, where everybody just going into the game, during the game, everybody was sort of like, man, Houston really is a great team. They're a worthy team. It's kind of like patting you on the head, like, oh, that's cute, guy. You are really good. That's great, but you're not Duke. That's how everybody was acting about it. That's how I was acting about it. So I can't sit here and do this a holier than thou thing with it. That's how I was acting about Houston's chances going into the game. So I've got no room to talk. Understand that. I'm not trying to hate too much. But you even have this. I mean, John Fanta. Oh, I messed up here, guys. Sorry. Share my screen here for John Fanta, one of the best college basketball analysts going out there right now. Duke has Cooper Flagg. Houston does not. We're just about done here. You can see that was tweeted at 10:01 Central Time last night. I guess in Fanta's defense, he did say we're just about done here. He didn't say we are done here, but he was close. So that's the type of thing that's being tweeted during the game. We had a lot of that going on heading into the game, and that's what Kelvin Sampson said that he heard. I would play this clip, guys, but I'm worried about getting flagged on YouTube for doing that. So I got to just read you the quote. But Sampson was not even asked directly about this. He was asked a question about, it was the second question from Tracy Wolfson, and it was about the seniors, like the leadership and toughness of the guys that were around him because he had the whole team around him. That was basically the question. He spent about 5 seconds on that being kind of like, well, yeah, I mean, that's great. Like, these guys are awesome. They work hard, and that's what that was. But I hear what people say. Now I'm quoting him. I hear what people say. Duke this, Duke that. Look, Duke's great. John Shire is awesome. But don't sleep on Houston. Don't sleep on Houston. We weren't 34-4 playing in the Toy Poodle League. Great line, by the way. That's a bar. That is a bar from Kelvin Sampson. We weren't 34-4 playing in the Toy Poodle League. We were 19-1 in the Big 12. Playing in the Big 12 helped us. Shout out to my Big 12 brethren. That is outstanding from Kelvin Sampson. And you can understand the frustration he's feeling as he hears the narrative about this game and in the tournament basically be about Duke. And then if it's not Duke, like maybe Auburn or Florida. And they were definitely drawing all the headlines as the one seeds. And it was sort of like Houston was this. Everybody recognized that they were great. It wasn't total disrespect, but it was a little bit of the, I mentioned like the pat you on the head, like, okay, guy, yeah, you're good. Great job. But you're not going to win the thing. And so, of course, you'd have a chip on your shoulder about that. And, of course, you'd have a chip on your shoulder about that when you're 19-1 in the Big 12 and you feel really strongly about your league. And you got to remember, too, I think some of this is baked into, especially the Toy Poodle League comment, has to be baked into the fact that Kelvin Sampson played a long time in the AAC, right? I mean, this is not his first rodeo. This is the 6th straight Sweet 16 that these guys have been to. And for a lot of this time, they're having to hear about how they play in the AAC, and that's a mark against them, and no one believes in them because of the conference that they play in. So they're taking a lot of crap for that over the years, and I'm sure that that's a part of what has like laid the foundation for Sampson having a bit of a chip on his shoulder there. Like, man, you guys just don't learn, do you? Like, no matter what, you're going to say stuff like this about us. So I really think that was pretty loaded and something that was a long time coming for him to deliver that. But why I think it's just really important is like it goes along with what I always say about how Yormark has really changed the Big 12, where he's just set a more aggressive tone, not going to be run over, not going to let people just walk over you. Stick up for yourself a little bit, be proactive in trying to set the narrative or combat anti-Big 12 sort of narratives. And the league has really needed that. And I think this is like just a sign, like it's been cultivated and it's really changed. It has really changed since Yormark showed up. So this is no longer, your Dan Beebe, just be very reactionary, bow down to whatever Texas says. It's not that anymore. Bob Bowlesby, I think, did some very good things, but was not always the most proactive guy in the world either. And I think this is Kelvin Sampson falling in line with Brett Yormark right off to the side, by the way, not very far away. With Brett Yormark right there, it's Kelvin Sampson embodying all of that. So I'm sure Brett Yormark was excited, happy to see that quote from Kelvin Sampson, and obviously happy to see the win for the Cougars. So tremendous stuff there. Appreciate Kelvin Sampson. I can only imagine. I hope he's got an encore left. If they beat Florida, I hope he's got an encore left when somebody puts a mic in front of his face, because that would be great. That would be great. Some of that, too, I forget an angle that I miss on this. It's Kelvin Sampson hearing all year about the SEC, right? Like, hey, if we were 19-1 in the SEC, you guys would be talking about this much differently, but we were 19-1 in the Big 12, so we're not hearing about this. We hear about Duke, and then we hear about the SEC and Florida and Auburn and it's best league ever and all that. Nobody's talking about the Big 12 anymore. Watch us just go slay Goliath. Now I'm going to talk my you-know-what, because we just took out Goliath of the tournament, and we did it the way we do it, man, by just showing toughness and being gritty and finding a way. So yeah, I think there was a lot that led up to that soundbite coming out from Sampson.